Welcome into the CHGO White Sox postgame show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into the first live show from Studio A in the 2023 season, and we are coming to you live after a White Sox winner. April Fools. They lost 6-4 to the Astros. They
got them.
They fall to 1-2.
You got them, Sean.
Hey, you can follow me on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. I'm CHGO White Sox community leader Herb Lawrence. That's Vinnie Duber.
Did you double down on April Fools just there?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. It's a stupid holiday, and I'll make.
It's not a holiday.
What is it?
It's just a thing from probably the 1910s when they didn't have anything else to do.
So tradition rather than holiday?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a stupid tradition, so why not be stupid? I like being stupid on all 365 days, but I'll just continue to be dumb this specific day. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. That's the real Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Again, White Sox lose 6-4 today in Houston. They fall to 1-2 on the season. Lucas Giolito had the start for the White Sox. He went for 5 innings, had 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Jose Urquidy going for the Astros on the other side, 4 innings pitched, 7 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. What did we take away from the game? What's the biggest takeaway, Herb?
Good that Lucas Giolito came back from early inning struggles. I think he finished the first inning with 25 pitches thrown, finished the second inning with 49 pitches thrown. I was like, if we can get us to 5 and keep it right here, give his team a chance to win, that will be something you can salvage. It's not a good start because I always want a pitcher of Lucas' caliber to go a little deeper into the game, but that's a Houston Astros team that is deadly. We saw it all game long, and it's hard to get those guys out because once you get one guy out, it's another son of a bitch that's going to hit a ball that's going to be either soft or hard, and it's going to fall in, though. So my takeaway is that Lucas Giolito looked like the pitcher at times that we need back. Then also he had reverted back to 2022. Even though those balls are hitting the first inning, not hard at all, just finding the holes. So it was good in a way for Lucas Giolito today.
Biggest takeaway, White Sox need to figure out how to get the third out of an inning. That was the case last night. We saw those walks from Kendall Graveman, both of them with 2 outs. And all 6 Astros runs today scored with 2 outs. Ooh. A lot of them are the results of rallies that even started with 2 outs, be it Lucas Giolito in the first inning. Obviously, Herb, you mentioned it. I don't think he did anything horribly egregious there, even in an inning in which he gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. Soft contact basically all around from the Astros in that inning. But the bullpen then comes in, and, it's not like they fell apart horribly. They weren't walking guys all over the place. It's just 2 outs. You got to get that third out of the inning, and credit the Astros for knowing how to keep an inning alive even when there's 2 outs. Both the late inning rallies that they had to break the 3-run tie and then add on a little bit at the end. Yordan Alvarez, Jose Abreu, back-to-back 2-out hits. I mean, this is just what good teams do, what good lineups do. If you're going to be a good team like the White Sox want to be, your pitchers got to figure out how to slam that door, end the inning, and prevent those rallies from snowballing.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people talking about the bullpen in the chat. Make sure, if you are watching, got around 66 people watching, you're hitting the thumbs up button. We do appreciate it. The bullpen is obviously the biggest talking point for most people. You talk about the 2-out rallies. Jose Ruiz got into some trouble today. Jimmy Lambert got into some trouble, and then Joe Kelly bailed him out in the 6th. But in the 7th, Joe Kelly, again, getting in trouble, 2 outs, and then Ruiz coming in and giving up the hit. Average exit velocity for the Astros today on their 11 hits, 87.5. We even saw in the Jose Ruiz at-bat against Kyle Tucker, he got him off balance. He got him out in front, but Kyle Tucker, very good hitter, just shortening up the swing, making good contact, getting good loft on it, and it's a ball that wasn't hit hard, 71 miles per hour, but it was hit in the right place. So, that was a lot of the Astros hits. And even with Giolito, too, in the first 2 innings, it seemed very much like 2022 Lucas Giolito, where he walked a couple guys, would get deep into counts, and then, would not finish that guy off, especially in the first inning, not being able to finish off Tucker, not being able to finish off who's after Tucker on that, and McCormick, both who driven in runs. Like it felt a little bit like Lucas, but he did end up settling down in the third, fourth, and fifth. He looked pretty decent, but again, that's like the biggest bugaboo. Vinny brought it up. All the runs scored with 2 outs.
And I hear what you're saying, Lou Allen, in the comments. He says starters are shorter and shorter, Herb. Anything 5+ should be acceptable, in my opinion. Not for Lucas Giolito. He's looking for a big-time contract after this year. 5 innings is acceptable for people at the back end of the bullpen. If he wants back in the starter money, cool. Be a 5-inning guy. But if he is projected to go at the top of the rotation, he needs to be better than he was today. Good, but not what we need him to be, because that early start struggles really put him and the White Sox in a jam, and then we got exposed to that bullpen, which, as Vinny said, like 2-out hits and 2-out RBIs couldn't just get people out and go and get into the dugout real quick, because, yeah, those Astros are tough, but you got to execute your pitches a little bit better than the White Sox bullpen has done the last couple days.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing last night, too. We were talking about it, and not even just from the bullpen, but Lance Lynn giving up that home run to Tucker with 2 outs in that inning, and then obviously Graveman comes in and issues the walks there. But, I don't think the bullpen, looks terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're just getting into situations where they're one pitch away, and the Astros do something to extend the inning. Joe Kelly came in, and it looked like he was going to be the guy who caused the disaster when he throws that pitch basically between Seby Zavala's legs. They had a pitch comm error or something, no idea what was coming.
That sinker sank.
I mean, you saw Seby Zavala just turn into defense mode. It's like, oh my God, I hope this doesn't hit me and hurt me. But then boom, 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 those 3 straight changeups. My God, they made the opposing hitter look foolish. I believe it was a rookie on Houston who was taking that. Jolks was taking that at bat, and nothing against him. I'm sure he's capable of quite a bit, but against Joe Kelly, my goodness, those 3 straight changeups. Herb, we were watching. He throws the first 2. I'm like, just throw another one. Throw another one in the exact same spot. He can't hit it, and no, he couldn't. But yeah, I mean, Ruiz, we've been praising for weeks now because of what he did during the WBC. He just can't nail it down. It's not like he looked bad. They just can't nail it down.
And again, like I told you guys, it was such a very small sample size in the World Baseball Classic. Yes, he's doing it against the elite of the elite. He's striking out teammate Tim Anderson. He's doing it against Mike Trout, but it's 4 1/3. And like I showed you, in 2022, he basically had the same opening 4 1/3 innings that he did in the World Baseball Classic at the start of 2022, and yet he's going to what. Was he arbitration this year? I mean, going through and only making $1 million, and they brought him back kind of later in the offseason. Like, he wasn't a priority to bring back, and he had a really nice World Baseball Classic, but he's who he is. He's Jose Ruiz. He is a guy that has pretty good stuff. His stuff plus is above league average. I think it's 13% better than league average, but that changeup when you're going against major league hitters with better scouting reports and major league scouting reports, like the Astros, who have won how many World Series and been to how many American League Championship games, there's a reason that they're able to have great at-bats and get to 2 outs and not have the pressure of the White Sox. I go back to game 1 where Eloy's coming up twice with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and it just feels like the weight of the world is on his shoulders, but Yordan Alvarez is coming up with 2 outs and he's flicking doubles off the left field wall like it's nothing.
Yeah, well, and I think you point out, you say, bashing doubles and all this great stuff that Alvarez has done in this series, but it jumped out to me in that 8th inning where they add the extra insurance run there. It did the Astros. Alvarez, Abreu with the 2-out hits. They're grounders up the middle. Right. They're bouncers through the infield. And you can talk about the shift rules maybe playing an effect there, but in order to be a great hitter, you got to do more than just hit a ball 1,000,000 miles. And those 2 guys are great hitters because they can come up with a little nothing single like that, and it turns into runs.
With Ruiz right there in the Kyle Tucker at bat, it was 3-2. I would have wanted him to bury that changeup. He left it up a little bit. It was just below the strike zone. You don't get beat by Kyle Tucker. Walk him. Allow Chas McCormick to beat you. Well, that's Steve, what I would have went with.
Flash the at-bat graphic just so people can see where Herb's talking about that pitch location. You can kind of see it's bottom of the zone but middle of the plate.
Yeah, and so he's going to be swinging because he's protecting the plate. Bounce it, allow him to either be patient and walk or flail at the ball and go in the dirt and then tag him out. but you don't get beat by him necessarily, which the White Sox did. And I would have loved for him to execute that pitch a little bit better.
And we saw some pre-game numbers of Giolito versus Yoan and Giolito versus Kyle Tucker, and they were pretty poor. And Steve Stone was basically talking about how good Lucas Giolito's changeup was. And I wasn't really surprised that they ended up going to Jose Ruiz against Kyle Tucker there because of the changeup and how we've praised it against the World Baseball Classic. He goes up and throws it 5 times. He saw that pitch 5 times. It's Kyle Tucker. I mean, that's a guy who's on Team USA who's hitting, ropes 100 miles per hour that one leaves the park against Lance Lynn, and then Luis Robert makes a miraculous catch in center field today to rob him of a hit. But that's a professional hitter right there, and it's only 71 miles per hour off the bat, but he got all of it on the barrel. So again, you got to bury those pitches, and if you're going to get him to swing, you got to get him to swing. That's something completely out of the zone. So he was able to stay balanced, and that's a great hitter. Talking about great hitters too, Abreu and Yordan on the 8th. One second. Against Santos, 96.4 exit velocity on the single, but a launch angle of -14, and then Alvarez 109.8 launch angle of -16. So right into the dirt, but hard enough to get through.
Hit them where they ain't. That's the motto in baseball if you're stepping up to the plate. So they did that a lot today. You talked about Tucker's hit. It goes into right field. It's just a bloop fly ball into right field, but it's well placed, and And listen, the White Sox are doing that a little bit. Eloy Jimenez's hit, to score the run in the 9th inning was basically the same thing. Broken bat, drops right in front of Tucker in right field. Couldn't get to it. So I mean, you don't have to be chalking things up to, oh my God, how did the White Sox not get to that? We had so many comments last night about the ball that fell in front of Benintendi out in left field that led to a run scoring. But it's. You're going to see a lot more of those frustrating grounders like the ones that Alvarez and Abreu hit in the 8th inning today. You're going to start to see a lot of those because you can't move the defenders around. And so this might just be the first crash course in the new shift rules that White Sox fans got from watching their team, unfortunately, be on the other side of it today.
Yeah, the first single for Abreu of the game after Lucas Giolito struck him out 3 times, by the way, against Joe Kelly. Seemed like Andres was pretty much using as much space to try to play Abreu up the middle. He seemed pretty close to that second base bag. Obviously, he couldn't be all the way to the other side. So we kind of see the drastic shifts. But Abreu, last year, we saw him be a singles machine and just be a guy who could shorten up and make contact. And he just saw all that space on the right field side of the field where Vaughn's basically behind the first base runner. Andres is basically behind second base, and there's all that gap to just shoot a ball. So, professional hitters are able to take advantage of the non-shifts here, and that's been fun to see. A lot more singles up the middle, a lot more hits. I mean, Oscar Colas had a nice hit, too. It wasn't smashed. It wasn't a lining roper, but, top of the zone, takes it just right where they ain't. So, seeing a little bit of the rule changes affect the game there.
Yeah, and it's good to see that, people are executing and getting hits. But what I want from the White Sox in the offense today, scored more than 3 runs, so positive there. And another positive, 2 home runs. Got an opposite field one from Yoan Moncada. And then Seby Zavala absolutely just smashed a high fat. Man, if he's going to be the guy that's behind home plate for the majority of the time when Yasmani isn't, and he's bringing his bat this year, I'm in. I'm very in because that ball looked absolutely tattooed, and he knew it. He got me that Yasmani Grandal bat trap, too, with some pimping. And I just feel so, bad for this team because they're battling versus a reigning champs, and we're, down on them, which, we should be because that game was in hand, and then they gave it away again. But remember, this is the reigning champs, and they're good for a reason. And that bullpen is great for a reason. As I think either you or Vinnie pointed out, there's been a lot of money on their bullpen, too. And they didn't see Ryan Presley today because I think he got hurt after the first game. I think, Vinny, you said that. He was kind of shaking his arm out, and he was in the dugout, not in the bullpen back at the end of the game, and they just had to go with Neris.
Yeah, I brought up that stat. Presley makes $14 million. Montero makes $11.5 million. Neris makes $8 million. Valdez makes the most for any starter. He makes $6.8 million. Wow. Stanek, who was in the game today, $3.6 million. Javier, who we saw in the second game, $3.4 million. Irakiti, who we saw today, $3 million, and then Phil Maton, $2.5 million. So, I mean, they and the other guys are pre-arb. I mean, like Ronald Blanco, who's throwing sliders, and the White Sox are just whiffing like crazy up there. But what is it?
Struck out 5 dudes, didn't he?
Yeah.
Blanco?
Yeah. I think it was 4 in 2 innings. But, yeah, I mean, they spend 4 of their 5 most top paid pitchers are relievers. So you talk about the White Sox and their positional spending. It's not crazy for a successful team to go out and spend a lot on relievers. It's just, the White Sox also have Lance Lynn, who's making $18 million or so. They have a little bit more of expensive players. Giolito being later on in his arbitrations, making around 11. So, the starting pitchers just have to be better as well to be on the level of the Astros. I mean, Javier, Urquidy, and Valdez were all great, even though they didn't go deep.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't. Two things. You can't expect necessarily for the I don't think a lot of people are hoping that the White Sox come in here and are suddenly better than the Astros, especially on the first 3 days of the season, right? Now, that's where the White Sox want to be because they want to be the best team in baseball. The best team in baseball has to be better than the other 29. But that's an end-of-the-season goal, right? And I think the thing is, this is the first weekend of a 162-game season. If they learn from this stuff, if they move forward, then you shouldn't necessarily treat it as this measuring stick like we've been talking about for days now, because the Astros are this well-oiled machine. They are hard to measure up regardless of what time of year it is, but B, I don't remember now if I said A or 1, so I'm going to go ahead and say B instead of 2. Hopefully that's correct.
It is.
But B, this team has a long way to go before it reaches what it is. You know what I mean? You can't expect that finished product on day one. And so, we're sitting here going, oh, my God, the Astros are good. The Astros are good. And the conclusion a lot of people are jumping to is, oh, my God, it doesn't even matter. They're never going to beat the Astros. What does it even matter? Well, let's see if they face the Astros again in October and see what would happen. Obviously, a lot is going to have to happen between now and then. But the Astros are the Astros right now, and the White Sox are trying to just be better than they were last year because they've got a lot to figure out after what went wrong last season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad that we've seen 3 runs, and 4 runs from the White Sox. It's consistency. I'd like to see a little bit more, but they haven't been able to get wins in 2 of those games. So at least they're not getting shut out.
Another theme that continues today, they chased the starter before that starter got to complete 6 innings. This one didn't even get to the 5th. So that is a good sign that you're putting hits together, and I think they got 10 today when they had 11 and 11 the first 2 games. They're putting hits together. Now they need to have better execution when the runners are in scoring position. I think today they failed again. We're in a big spot. I think they had a guy on second with 1 out, didn't even advance him to third base, and so execution on those plays specifically need to be a little bit tighter. But for the most part, I am not upset with the White Sox effort they've had and the execution on most of the plays that they've had this weekend. Sometimes you're going to lose.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the play about Moncada overthrowing Vaughn. We talked a little bit about what if that was Jose Abreu, what would that play look like? As Stephen Nicholas did say at one point, wow, Andrew Vaughn does look short. I don't know if it would be rude, but I wonder how tall he is.
Just go up to him and ask him.
When am I ever near Andrew Vaughn?
You're going to be at the ballpark on Monday.
He has to have a restraining order against me.
Go back to the ballpark on Monday. I'm sure he's signing autographs. Look him eye to eyes like 5'8".
I'm 5'9". So last doctor's appointment, I have a pretty good barometer. If I'm standing at my straightest, I'm 5'9". So, but what do we make?
That's shoes off, though. Of course, if the doctor was measuring you, that's shoes off.
I'm shoes off. I'm 5'9". Baby, let's go.
You can put some lifts in. Dave Portnoy.
Apparently, I've been hanging myself upside down from my closet trying to lengthen out those legs.
Side shot. He's just somewhere in Boston getting a side swipe.
What do we make of the play? Would Jose Abreu made it? Was a bad throw by Moncada?
It was a bad throw. I don't think that. You talk about making the play. I guess you're just talking about catching the ball. I don't think the runner would have been out or anything like that. It was pretty wide of first base. And remember, bigger bases too. So theoretically, Andrew Vaughn gets a little extra leeway in there than Jose had a year ago. But it was not a good throw, and it led to a run, which is bad. That's the defensive miscues that we talked about being such a characteristic of last year's team. That's another one coming here to play. Now, again, you saw some really good defensive plays today. Luis Robert Jr. had about 3 of them, I think, in center field. Yeah. But listen, it's that game of inches, and it was very possible that was going to be a much tighter game by the time that Moncada, who happened to be the last at bat of the game, right, came up to hit there. Take that 1 run off the board, and it's a different situation. But you can point to that as being a reason that the White Sox lost today because it directly led to a run.
It was a terrible throw by Yoan Moncada, but those are going to happen from time to time. What the first baseman has to do is decide, hey, do I need to get off of the bag and save the throw from going to the dugout so I can get the guy just staying right here at first? Or do I keep on the bag, and can I catch this ball? Because that ball was way off of Andrew Vaughn. He didn't have any shot to catch that ball and stay on the bag. So at that point, I want Andrew Vaughn to learn from that mistake right there and realize, like, hey, if a ball's off from Yoan or Tim or Andres, just save the guy from going to second base, because that is what caused that guy to score eventually. And he took a very circuitous route to get the ball after it was overthrown too. But, Andrew Vaughn doesn't have the greatest of speed. So I thought initially the ball carried him down. I was like, oh, man just turned over to second base. He's out. Nope, Andrew Vaughn is slower than I thought. Yeah. I'm not challenging him.
Weird route.
Before we start, I'm not challenging him.
I don't know. I think laterally you're a pretty quick mover.
In the game, he's a 40.
Yeah, that's.
And Yasmani's a 3.
That's nice. That's gratuitous. Is that the word? That's generous for Yasmani. That was in the bottom of the fourth, though. Hensley safe at first, then advancing to second. And then, again, like Vinnie mentioned, they got Diaz to ground out to shortstop, Yolks to fly out to center, and then Pena with 2 outs hitting a double and scoring Hensley, and that tied it at 3-3. And then the White Sox weren't able to score again when they added 1 in the 9th. We'll talk a little bit more about Lucas Giolito's performance. We'll talk a little bit more about the lineup. We got Kevin asking, when do we start worrying about Luis? We brought it up yesterday. we started worrying yesterday about Luis Robert. We do want to let you know, though, about Roman. A lot of guys want better sex life, and around 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting or enjoying sex. Do you want a better sex life? If so, you are not alone. Roman is here to help. They are the digital health clinic for men, addressing a variety of sexual health needs and offering genuine medication that helps and maintain a strong erection. They offer discreet wipes that help you last 4 times longer in bed. And with men in low testosterone, getting testosterone levels back to normal and help increase your libido. And Roman offers a testosterone test, which includes lab processing, and if it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone. The best part, there's no waiting room, no hassle. It's a straightforward digital experience from the comfort of your home. And if medication or testing is appropriate for you, Roman will send it directly right to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. So, to learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to row.co/CHGO to get 20% off your first entire order. That is row.co/CHGO for 20% off your first entire order.
Who says no to that question of, do you want a better sex life? It's rhetorical, but, I just want a little editorialize in that commercial.
Who doesn't want a better fantasy team? It's a baseball season. Latest fantasy baseball news for RotoWire, a pioneer of fantasy sports for over 25 years. They get clean sheets, custom player rankings to fit all leagues, whether rotisserie points, 10-cat, or 30-cat is your style. And they have experts that can analyze all the wild baseball stats for you, like weighted runs created plus. I'll throw out called strikes plus whiff later, whiff rate, and all the sleepers and prospects that are hiding in your league. They have access to fantasy, DFS, and sports betting articles as well. So when you're using our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, RotoWire will give you the right picks to play each and every day. And it's not just baseball, it's fantasy advice on everything from golf, soccer, NASCAR, and XFL. For a limited time offer, RotoWire is offering you a free 2-day trial to our listeners. Just go to rotowire.com/CHGO to register. No commitments. They're so confident that you'll like their product and want to invest in a subscription plan that they don't even ask you for a credit card up front. Take a peek behind the paywall, and when the trial is done, you can decide if a RotoWire package is right for you. Just thinking about that, too. Who probably has a lot of experts, a lot of knowledgeable people? The Astros. Just thinking about Luis Robert Jr., too. Like, they're just pitching how you would pitch Luis Robert.
Yes.
A lot of sliders, and he's swinging at everything. So when you go and face maybe the A's, maybe you go out and face who's a bad team? The Pirates,
the
Nationals.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a little less talent to execute the game plans, and maybe the game plans are a little bit worse. So that's where Luis will shine. But going up against top caliber flight competition like the Astros, mercy. Let's go into Lucas Giolito. Not a bad start, a weird start. Like we mentioned, a lot of pitches used in the first 2 innings, but he kind of settled in the third, fourth, fifth, and even the run that he gave up in the fourth was unearned because of the error that we brought up by Moncada. 5 innings pitched today, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 5 hits allowed, 6 Ks, and 1 walk for Lucas Giolito. I want to go to the pitching breakdown here, Steven. Lucas was, no, not that one. Do we have the one where it's just strictly his pitches? Yeah, thank you. All good. Lucas today, 97 pitches, 35 fastballs, 30 changeups, 29 sliders. For a large part of his start, the sliders was his most preferred pitch.
What is that little like cartoon head of lettuce up there next to his name?
That is the pitches.
The fastballs, right? Red.
It's just a little color. I don't know. They added it this year. I don't like it.
Does it correspond to what
Yeah.
the data is, or is it just like a little logo?
I think it's just a little logo because there's no orange in that one, and there's too many.
A lot of blue.
Yeah, there's not enough blue.
Gotcha.
But it's just a little.
Just wondering. Just curious.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't clicked on it. Maybe you can click on it and it could take you somewhere. I'll go find out for you on Statcast. If you click on it, it'll take you to his player or the pitch visualizer. So
there we go.
Anyways, Lucas today, the big thing that I was wondering, because we didn't have Statcast down in Camelback Ranch, what was the mile per hour going to look like on the fastball? We talked about a lot throughout his 2022, the injury that he suffered in his first start, him adding a lot of muscle, trying to get his fastball velocity up to 95, and then after that first start against the Tigers, we just saw a diminished fastball for Lucas, and he started off kind of slow. You can kind of see it hovering around 91 there, but gradually throughout the game, he started picking up some mile per hour, and in certain spots, he was getting it up to 95. So against Yoan specifically, he got up to 95, which was good to see. So Lucas kind of building throughout the game is good to see. And I did read a little bit from The Athletic talking about how pitchers might be varying their velocity just to protect elbow from wearing. So, throwing 95 just consistently will really stress out your elbow. So Lucas, I would like to kind of see that mile per hour get ready and going up to like 93 at the start rather than 91 where it was at, but seeing him being able to get up to 95, I think was a really good sign.
And he was sitting 93, right?
Yeah, ended up sitting 93 average for the game. And I did like just the mix. It seemed like he trusted all of his pitches, fastball, slider, and changeup in any count, and he really felt like he could throw it in any count. Wasn't perfect today, but again, really good hitters on the Astros.
And I think that Lucas did this last year a lot, where he would struggle early, especially in the first inning, and then he would settle in and like, okay, I'm good to go, and then would have to go 5 innings because his pitch count was so high. It looked like in the 5th inning he looked better, much better than the first inning, confidence-wise and pitch-wise. I think he threw that Yordan Alvarez 95 mile per hour either in the 4th or 5th inning, so he was like had something in the tank. But like you said, I would rather have that initially and then gear down later on in the game. But it's a testament to him that he battled versus a team, gave up those runs early in the first inning and 4 hits, but only gave up 2 runs in that first inning. And it was a testament to him to say, oh, okay, I need to get to the 5th inning for my team to make sure the bullpen isn't too overtaxed. And he got the job done. And to give only 3 runs up in that start, it's fine.
By inning last year, from the 1st to the 3rd, a 4.90 ERA. From the 4th to the 6th, a 4.68. From the 7th to the 9th, an 8.31. Small sample size there, but you can kind of see when he did get deeper into games, it felt like probably he was a little bit more comfortable with his stuff, and we saw that today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, take away that first inning. Granted, it was 2 runs, I understand, but take away the first inning, he gave up 1 hit today. I mean, I thought he was fine, and I thought that you could probably say a lot of the same stuff we said about Lance Lynn yesterday. Obviously, Lance Lynn gave up a home run right at the end of his start, but Lucas, I thought, was very serviceable today. Thought Lance Lynn was very serviceable today or yesterday. Both those guys put their teams in position to win the game, and you've got people coming out and saying, and it's true, you need more runs to win, and especially if the bullpen is not going to be locked down, even if they weren't perhaps as horrible as the social media world would like to lead us to believe. But I do think that the starting pitching has been fine against a very good lineup. The inverse of that, though, is that the White Sox are facing a team that not just has a very good lineup. They're facing a team that has a very good starting rotation and a very good bullpen as well. So expecting the offense to break out against Valdez or Javier or Urquidy, those are tall tasks. These are good pitchers. These are some of the best pitchers in baseball. These are guys who pitched in the World Series last year. So I think that the offense is probably going to continue to be the focal point. It was coming into the season, Sean. We talked before the season started. Hey, what is the one thing, your biggest question, the biggest thing you want to know? And it comes down to, has this coaching staff and the players themselves, of course, done what they need to do in order to turn this offense into something that looks a lot more like what was expected? Some of the guys, absolutely they have. Tim Anderson is automatic on base right now.
Yes, he is.
Yoan Moncada is hitting fantastically. Aloy has come up with some big hits, some failed moments, but Benintendi looks very Benintendi-y kind of. I think that there are some guys in this lineup where you go, oh, wow, if they get that the whole year, then holy smokes, this is going to be a lot different than last year. But then you're seeing a lot of the moments that maybe you did see too much of last year. I think people are right to call out Luis Robert Jr. He has looked really bad at the plate for the most part. It goes back to the World Baseball Classic. We were saying that then too, right? I mean, listen, for all the amazing outcomes that Yoan Moncada had, ending up on the all-tournament team and almost hitting 500 in the World Baseball Classic, Luis Robert played in the same number of games and didn't really do much of anything. And it's carried in. It's carried into the regular season, it looks like, at least in these 3 games, which are, of course, very, the smallest of sample sizes you could have when compared to the whole season. So you don't need to necessarily worry about Robert having this last for the next 6 months quite yet. But I think, and I said it last night, it's time for the coaching staff to get involved and show up and be like, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing. We don't know necessarily the level of interaction that they had with some of the more established guys throughout the season. Obviously, we saw them working with Oscar Colas and Romy Gonzalez. That's a rookie and a guy who's just a little bit more than a rookie. When it comes to a guy who's already a star caliber player like Luis Robert Jr., how much did they do? And let's see if he is receptive in the way that some of his teammates might have been to some new thinking and some new ways, because otherwise you're going to be able to point to him and ask Rick Hahn, hey, you talked about new vibes and outside perspectives coming in here to show the White Sox from a different perspective what they didn't do last year. You're going to be able to look at Rick Hahn and say, hey, what are these guys telling Luis Robert Jr. because he looks exactly the same as he did a year ago?
He made some good catches, and I got to give him credit for that great catch he made in center field off of Kyle Tucker. But like you were talking about earlier, where the Astros have the book on Luis Robert, what Luis Robert and the White Sox coaching staff have to do is do a little self-scouting. Like, how would I get myself out? Slider, 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 off the plate, off the plate, off the plate. Nothing in the plate that's a fastball. And then go to work on recognizing spin, recognizing when the ball is, like Neris threw a ball like in the left-handed batter's box again, and Luis is swinging at these things. He's not like right there. He's not zoned in. And these things happen usually in the middle of the season. Like, you're lost. Like, you just lost your hitting form. And as Vinnie said, he wouldn't look good in the World Baseball Classic either. So he's just guessing right now. He's like, what are they throwing me? Oh, that's a fastball? Nope, slider. I swung at it anyways. He's in between. Now I just would want him to be like, okay, Luis, go up to the plate. Don't necessarily put the bat on your shoulder, but don't swing until you got 2 strikes, because they have an obvious plan against you where they're not throwing you anything middle because you're going to crush it. But occasionally they make mistakes, and they do leave a ball like right in the middle. And I think Yoan missed one right in the middle too. But like for Luis, he has to understand that they're doing something specific to him, and you're getting him out. They're doing specific things to Tim Anderson too, but he worked on those things. That drive line, you saw the inside-out swing that produced the single late in the game. Tim Anderson knows that his bugaboo is up and in. He worked on that. Now Luis Robert has to go to work with the coaches to work on how to get hits or how to get on base when you're struggling like this.
Well, and Herb, we're 2 guys. We're just 2 guys sitting here.
Yeah.
Luis Robert Jr. is a professional baseball player, and the coaches around him are professional baseball coaches. They know this. They've known this for over a year at this point, right?
Yes.
It is on them to, within that chess match with the pitchers that we always talk about, it's on them to figure out how to stop breaking this habit. Because if we're sitting here knowing, wow, all you got to do is throw that slider or throw that sweeper and have it right over to the other side of the strike zone. If we know that, he knows that. So why isn't it changing?
Well, and 15 of the 18 pitches that he saw were either sweepers or forcing fastballs. 6 of them were called strikes or whiffs, and that's 40% of basically those pitches. Those 15 pitches are strikes right there. At least in the first, I will give him a little bit of credit in 0-0 counts. He saw 5 pitches. The 2 that he swung at were both in the zone and both like basically, above the chest. I mean, he's not like going down and swinging at him. 2 of the called strikes were pretty borderline, and then the other one was a ball. So, I mean, he at least 0-0 starting off. He didn't really put himself in a bad spot. But again, like when you get a call against you where especially you probably thought it was a ball, start overreacting, start, going after things. And, he does, I think, get a little bit too ahead of himself because then an 0-1 count puts a ball in play. It's an out. He did get another ball and got to a 1-1 count and then swung and miss again against Urquidy on a slider. So yeah, he's frustrating. And even then, like his average exit velocity on the 2 balls that he hit for 4 seams in sweepers, 88. Like that's, his number. But also it's just not good.
Right on theme.
Yeah, right. I'm complaining about the Astros and their 11 hits being 87.5 miles per hour. Like that's not good. Luis Robert, I'd like to see him crush balls, and we haven't seen that just yet. Seby crushing a ball, very nice. Yoan hitting a ball, wasn't crushed, but it got out. What do we take away from his counterpart on Team Cuba?
He's looking good at the plate. I know he struck out 2 times with the game on the line at the end of the game, but those are filthy pitches. But Yoan early in this season, 3 games, he's looked decent. That throw aside that we were talking about earlier, he's looked pretty solid defensively too. So it's a good omen, and maybe you see him and Robert switch places in the batting order, where Robert's a little later in the batting order, and you got Yoan up there who's getting on base right now, and that's what you need. And he's hitting the ball with authority.
Yeah, but keeping him in the middle order could certainly help you out too. I mean, this is a guy who is probably expected by a lot of White Sox fans to be that kind of guy, to be that kind of power-hitting guy, and he hit the home run today. He had a double the other day. I mean, it's a guy with extra base potential, and if you get some guys on base in front of him, you can keep the line moving. We know that TA is going to be on base, and obviously everybody that bats from 2 on down could have an RBI opportunity with him on base. But I keep pointing to Benintendi. If Benintendi's going to hit third, he's another big on-base guy. And then Eloy, as I keep pointing out. I mean, Eloy isn't just there to hit 40 home runs and see if he can hit 40 home runs. He could be a 300-type hitter, and if he's poking balls through the infield and going the other way and getting singles, well, then you bring up Moncada, and Moncada has a shot at driving runs in thanks to the guy who's supposed to be your best RBI guy. So you can keep the line moving in that way, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all to have a hot Moncada in the middle of the lineup. It's just, are you giving yourself a quick out if Robert keeps slumping? Obviously, it's just 3 games. We don't know if it is even going to qualify as a slump at any point here, but certainly Moncada has looked really good, and I think he's showing off that lineup versatility that we always talk about with him too, where, yeah, if Pedro was like, yeah, go ahead, put him second, you're like, oh, perfect, good, put him there. Or if he's like, oh, I'm going to bat him 5th or 6th, you're like, oh, all right, well, that he can do damage there too. So I think the ability to kind of be anywhere in that lineup and do the same kind of damage is important.
And then I don't have much else to add on for Yoan here, but the one thing that I did want to add, where is it? All right, never mind. The one thing that I usually want to add for Eloy then is 1 for 3, 2 walks. So pretty nice day for him at the plate. Some people talking about Benintendi batting third, or Benintendi batting third. 2 hits today, 2 strikeouts as well. What do we make of the 3-hitter now?
I wouldn't want him in the 3 spot because that traditionally, I think the 3-hitter is more of a RBI guy, your best hitter. I would like him earlier, so Tim, then Benintendi. And Tim, by the way, man, keeps on hitting, and then he's stealing bases with ease, the greatest of ease. So I'm looking for a nice 30 stolen base here. I don't know if he gets the 30 home runs, but 20 is definitely in reach. But Andrew Benintendi, I would move him up and put Luis Robert down. I would have had that before Luis's struggles anyways, but Andrew's been delivering exactly what he was promised, and I know people get on him specifically about him signing the highest paid contract in White Sox history. That's not his fault. He just took a deal, and he's living up to that number. I mean, the hit he hit yesterday that got robbed by Tucker, that's a double for most players. The batting average was a little low, but he's hitting the ball with authority. I'm thinking when we go back home on Monday, it's going to be a little different story because it's going with a lesser team in the San Francisco Giants, who have good starting pitchers, but the Houston Astros have been pretty much the gold standard of baseball. So don't get on Andrew Benintendi, too tough guys out there, and don't be judging him upon his signing the deal. That says more about the White Sox than him, and I think he's perfectly suited for the money that he's making.
Giants have a weird start to the season, too. They're in New York right now playing the Yankees, and then they're going to go to Chicago. So odd start to their season, just thinking about that. The one thing I didn't want to bring up with Moncada, I thought it was in the opening day game, but it was yesterday, hitting a double. It looked a little weird. Just looked like he got under it, but then it just kept going off Christian Javier.
That ball was smoked.
He did 394 distance on that one, but an exit velocity of 98.5, and the homer today 96.4. So again, not like smashed balls, but still hard hit. And one off the fastball today, Urquidy. I wanted to bring up this 10 hits for the White Sox, 4 of them off fastballs. We wanted to talk about that. Not really killed. The home run for Moncada was one of them. Colas's single that got through, and then TA's 2 hits were the hits. So I do want to see more damage against the fastball, at least for the White Sox. But Moncada at least doing the major damage there with that home run.
And I think that would have only been a home run in that ballpark specifically because it just cleared the Crawford boxes. But that's what you got to do. Hit to the ballpark that you're in, and that was a hard pitch to hit. Outside fastball going, 94 miles per hour? And just served it over to right field. I did not think it was going out, or left field. I did not think it was going off the bat. But Yoan just got surprising power. Surprising compact power.
And that was a thing in 2019 was he had hard hit balls, just massive exit velocity, and his BABIP was like 440. And when you hit balls hard, you are giving yourself a better chance for them getting down. Even the bloops that got in front of Benintendi and Colas, like they're just hit sharp enough where they're getting down and just nosediving. Like Moncada puts himself in good positions just by being able to catch up to those fastballs. I think even when he came off the IL last year, first game against the Yankees, came off and hit 2 home runs. And one of them was like 100-mile-per-hour fastball right down the middle. So he can hit velocity. He's a very interesting player. He could be that $75 million top 7 third baseman if he continues to do this. We saw a great World Baseball Classic for him. So if he continues this and we see a little bit more of the patience at the plate, he starts drawing some more walks. I mean, Yoan Moncada could be back.
I was scared. Sorry.
Saw Yaz walk today too in a pinch hit appearance. I mean, listen, Grandal and Moncada, those are the 2 guys that I've been saying that's the most important duo to get this lineup back on track because they were so unproductive last year. If they can get back to being back to normal for them, that's a big step forward for this offense. Even if there are guys who are still trying to play catch-up like a Luis Robert Jr., right? If you take basically a quarter of your lineup and return it after it was on a milk carton last year, you can count on it being a better offensive season.
I know Sean got that reference.
What?
The milk carton reference.
Oh, I do. Yeah, no. People were talking about Joe Kelly being on a milk carton when he comes waltzing in. Want to take a quick break? And we're going to jump into probably some of the bullpen choices just because it's been weird for Pedro Grifol in the first couple of games. A lot of mid-inning changes for Pedro Grifol. Want to let you know, though, about ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. They're committed to helping families and businesses in the communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. And an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately, and each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That's ComEd.com/poweringbiz. Also want to know about DraftKings Sportsbook. Tonight, got the Final Four. Florida Atlantic taking on San Diego State University, and Miami taking on UConn. FAU is getting 2.5 points. Miami's getting 5.5 points. I like FAU plus 2.5, and right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, you get a 40% boost on any semifinal bet. So you can take plus 2.5 at minus 110 and boost it up to plus 127 right now for the Final Four. So download the app now and sign up with the code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NBA. With code CHGO, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. See Giolito go 5, then Jimmy Lambert comes in, faces 3 batters, but then is pulled for Joe Kelly. Kelly goes an inning, and then Ruiz relieves him.
But it was all overlapping,
then,
right?
Yes,
yeah,
and then Ruiz goes into the 8th, and he's relieved by Santos, who ends up closing and is the last pitcher used for the White Sox. But a lot of mid-inning changes for Pedro Grifol.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down, not every single one of those maybe they were, you could go check, were made with 2 outs, but a good number of them were actually.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, again, it just comes down to finishing off that inning. And you know, if these guys go out there and do their job of boom, 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 1, 2, 3, I understand that's difficult. The Astros are the Astros. It's not easy to just get every single out in a game. That's called a perfect game. But they got these guys' job is to go out and slam the door, to hold a lead or to hold a tie in this instance, and let the offense come back. Granted, you know, the Astros guys are trying to do the same thing, and they did it successfully. The Astros have a very good bullpen as well. But there were guys, be they Lambert, Kelly, Ruiz. They couldn't finish these guys off. They couldn't shut the door, and that's what the problem was.
And it's a nitpicky thing, but taking out a right-hander like Jimmy Lambert, who was getting outs for the most part with his 3 batters, I think he gave up like a walk or a hit, and then taking him out for another right-hander is just kind of odd to me. And then bringing in Joe Kelly, which got the job done in that inning, then having Joe Kelly return in the next inning, and then taking him out when he completes a full inning for a person. It was just a lot of in-inning moves that kind of unorthodox, but I thought he was like feeling something, like, oh, this guy has a better matchup versus that guy, so I'm going to bring him in, Joe Kelly in, instead of having Jimmy Lambert face the guy. It was just odd. It maybe just a choice that I am more regularly used to, like having a clean slate for your reliever to come in during the inning. And I didn't think Jimmy Lambert was in that much trouble where you're like, hey, those 22 or those 18 pitches you threw, that's enough. Get out.
I didn't like that, especially with the bottom of the lineup. And it's not like there's a handedness preferred there. I mean, you're going from a right-hander to a right-hander. Mm-hmm. He walked McCormick, then struck out Hensley, then Diaz popped out to first, and then Corey Ukes comes out. And Kelly ends up getting him with the changeup, and maybe that's the big thing. But even then, it wasn't like Kelly started him with all changeups. He got down 2-0 with sinkers, and then started throwing changeups, and Ukes couldn't catch up. So I thought it was a weird choice to go to Kelly in that moment. Ends up working out for them, but even then, when he throws the ball behind Zavala, I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, to be jumping on that though, that none of that led to any runs.
No, right. I know, but it's just like I just thought it was weird because he was only used for 4 pitches. Jimmy Lambert, the last time he was out, only faced a batter, then was pulled, and then you only let him see 4 batters total. Like I thought it was odd usage of Lambert.
Listen, Pedro Grifol told us what he was going to do. He told us he was going to play matchups. He was going to look at the upcoming batters in the lineup and say, that stretch of hitters, I want that pitcher to face. And it's very possible that he said, hey, if it gets to so-and-so, we're bringing in Joe Kelly. And then Jimmy Lambert issued a walk, and it got to so-and-so. Maybe there were only those three hitters that he was comfortable with letting Lambert face. Joe Kelly, if you go to the next inning, was supposed to pitch that whole inning. Mm-hmm. But he gave up 2 2-out hits to Alvarez and Abreu, and so the next guy comes up, Tucker, and it's like, oh, well, he doesn't want him to face Tucker, so it's on to the next guy. And that's, again, you're right. It's you can look at it as unorthodox, but I think it's completely orthodox for the way that Pedro is trying to do this, right, which is go by the matchups, go by the data, go by what he thinks is the correct guy to have on the mound in a very specific situation. We're used to saying, all right, we're used to seeing, okay, pitcher X gets the 7th, pitcher Y gets the 8th, pitcher Z gets the 9th. Mm-hmm. And I think that you are going to see a White Sox manager manage differently and challenge that mindset. Pitchers or managers around the game have been doing that for a while. I mean, my God, Terry Francona with the pitching changes in the middle of the innings, before this pitch clock thing, it would make the game stretch on for 4 hours. I think you're seeing Pedro Grifol bringing that to the White Sox, and I think fans and people who watch the games are going to have to get used to that being the new way that these pitching changes are determined, not just, okay, it's time for a new inning.
I that's fair. I just think it's a little too cutesy when you're going up against Corey Ukes, who's a rookie. In what, like, you just, I don't understand the matchup there. Like, what is the true difference?
Yeah, but I would like, why would we take away Jimmy Lambert? He was looking nice,
like, I don't understand. Like, it's just, you got the out, that's fine, but I don't understand why Lambert couldn't do that or what Lambert brings. Like, I just...
Well, why is it bad that he got taken out?
Because it seemed like he was either on a pitch limit or he thought he was struggling, because you're not changing him for handedness.
It's
you're
less
not
about
changing
the
him
move
for
and making
effectiveness
the,
either.
yeah, it's like less about making the move. It's just I want to understand why, because it doesn't really seem like there's a clear way either way. Like it's Jimmy Lambert can't get out Corey Yolks.
I mean, he obviously thought that Kelly was the better matchup, or he wouldn't have made the change.
Yeah, I will love to hear what he's got to say in the postgame. I don't know if he could be asked about that specifically, but yeah, I would want relievers to have clean innings and only take out pitchers if you think the matchup is actually better. And like Sean said, Yolks doesn't have enough like history in the major leagues to know that he would be better. Joe Kelly would be better versus Yolks, and Jimmy Lambert wasn't struggling in that one spot right there. Maybe he was thinking, I don't want Jimmy Lambert to go up here and walk Yolks to go to the top of the order. At that time, yeah, bring in Joe Kelly if there's first and second with 2 outs. But I just, I was just confused by the move.
Well, and maybe it's
unorthodox, and it worked out, so it's cool. But also, in the future, I could see that, coming back and biting him in the ass.
And you see the way that he gets Yolks out. Like, I understand maybe Yolks can't hit fastball changeups, but Joe Kelly last year used his changeup the least he's used it since 2017. He was at 8%, the lowest it's been since 2017, which is at 3%, and he busts out 3 straight pitches. He doesn't throw another changeup except for Yordan Alvarez, the third pitch of that at bat, and next he follows up with a sinker, and Yordan deposits that for a double. So, like, I don't know. It's weird because it's not like you're going to Joe Kelly because he's got a great changeup. Like, I would even think if you're going to righties, we've seen Jose Ruiz, like, especially, lower leverage spot, it's Corey Yolks. Like, to get an out, go to Ruiz. Like, I don't understand why Kelly, and it's less about
to me this is not the thing that should be complained about. You know what I mean?
It's not really a complaint, though. I'm not trying to
He makes
complain.
a pitching change and he gets the out. That worked.
No, it's not a complaint. I'm just more curious to the reasoning why. It's why Kelly? Again, Ruiz has the changeup. I don't know. I don't know. I just find it peculiar. Inside baseball stuff. It's interesting. We're talking about baseball for an hour. Of course, we're going to discuss, why they're switching a righty to a righty. Anything else stick out pitching wise to you guys today? Steven's new guy, Gregory Santos, debuts. Nothing much to take away from that. I just wanted to bring up Steven.
Hey, he gave up 2 out hits to Yordan and Abreu. Both of them scored a run.
Not bad. Overall, we liked it. It's just they just got hit, right?
Yeah.
Santos?
Yeah.
He gave up 2 ground balls.
Yeah.
And not charged to him, right? Those are other people's
runs. Weren't. No.
Yeah. Inherited runners.
But that's another thing. It's just like it's the relievers. They're not coming in. They didn't do their job, right? I mean, Graveman owned it last night because boy, he should have done his job. He walked 2 guys with 2 outs. He loaded the bases with 2 outs. Today, Kelly comes in and does a fantastic job ending that 1 inning. But then he is supposed to get Alvarez out. He's supposed to get Abreu out. He didn't do it. They have to go to somebody else. And Ruiz, the first 2 batters he hits, bloop single, walk. I mean, then you're pushing the lineup into a place where you didn't want Jose Ruiz to pitch. Comes in the 8th inning, hits the first guy he faces, gives up a single. Get the job done, and you're not even facing those batters because then. Guess what? Then Gregory Santos doesn't have to come in and face Alvarez and Abreu, who are the 2 toughest hitters in the lineup.
Santos comes in and faces Bregman, Alvarez, Abreu, and Tucker. He faces all 4 of the toughest guys. I mean, that's a tough first matchup for to put him in. Like, and you got good results as in they're hitting on the ground, but right where the guys weren't. So
and he got the Tucker to ground out in that threat. So,
would you rather pick Gregory Santos versus Corey Yolks with 1 at bat, or would you rather throw Joe Kelly versus Bregman, Alvarez, Abreu, and Tucker? Obviously, the game has to play out that way. It's different the way that you choose it. It's weird to go.
He brought in Joe Kelly because he wanted Joe Kelly to pitch the next inning too. You're going to burn through 3 relievers in just to get one more out. Joe Kelly can get 1 more out. He's pretty good.
And this is the thing with the Astros. They present these problems because of their patience. And when they get their pitch, they don't miss it for the most part. And they'll take a walk and they'll take a hit by pitch and put the pressure on the opposite team, especially the bullpen. The White Sox need to learn from this and understand that that's how you become a winning team, a winning organization, where you put pressure on the defense to do and execute perfectly. Like I said, hit batsman to start the game or start the inning off for Ruiz. That just ruins a lot of stuff that you were planning on doing. If Joe Kelly executes the pitches or just issues an intentional walk to Alvarez at the beginning and goes after Jose Abreu, maybe the inning's a little different. That's 2 outs though, right, Vinny? When he was going against Alvarez, like these have to be like, and I know I'm giving a lot of crap and a lot of grievance to Grifol, but I say the players have to execute, and they didn't. And Joe Kelly, I think, got the L today because he didn't execute the pitches.
If Graveman wasn't available and Lopez is being saved for the 9th inning, right? Then in that 7th inning, you've got the top of the order, and you've got their 6 best hitters, right? It lined up that way. That's who you want Kelly facing. You want Joe Kelly because people are like, oh, my God, why did they bring in Diekman yesterday? Oh, my God, why did they bring in Ruiz in this moment today? Well, Joe Kelly was the guy who was lined up to face Bregman, Pena, Bregman, and Alvarez, and that's all that, everything goes according to plan. That's who he faces. That's who you want in that moment because there is no Graveman, and Lopez is apparently, being saved for later in the game too.
Well, and as I mentioned too, like going to Jose Ruiz against Kyle Tucker, I like that matchup just because, again, he offers that changeup when we saw that Kyle Tucker against righties struggles against changeup. That makes sense to me. Like, I was just I'm not like even giving Grifol crap. It's just first 3 games, just trying to figure out what his mindset is and like what we could expect when we do see certain matchups propose themselves.
And he's got an interesting puzzle to put together too because he has elected to go with closer by committee. He's elected to go with, hey, it's the 7th inning and their best players are coming up, so that's where I'm going to put my highest leverage guy. He's elected to go that way, so it is really a different puzzle every day. If it were as easy as I was describing, earlier, where it's like, all right, if we got a lead after the 6th inning, it'll just be Kelly, Graveman, Lopez, and that'll be that. Hopefully they get it done. But you're right. It bears watching because it could be different every single day. And maybe that means that the move that you're used to seeing will change because the right move, the answer is different every day because the question is different every day.
Right. And maybe Kelly, hypothetically 3-3 ball game, it's bottom 7. Kelly comes in, walks the first guy, gets the next 2 out, and here comes Kyle Tucker. Why wouldn't you see Bummer for one appearance there to just try to get the out? I can make sense. I think, it's just we'll see how these situations propose themselves. Herb, you did also talk about the White Sox and just being a little bit more patient, what they can learn from the Astros. 9 innings of pitching for the Astros, 173 pitches thrown in 8 innings for the White Sox, 174 pitches thrown. So even getting 3 more batters, extra frames, the Astros were able to be more efficient with their pitches. And I think that's also credit to the Astros. A lot of foul balls, a lot of foul-offs, and I think that's, again, going back to Giolito's fastball, is just like, those extra ticks could help you blow them by. I did want to get a little bit more into swinging strikes and his fastball velocity, but the one thing I did notice, it seemed like his vertical movement, the rise was like 12 inches, 11 inches, probably averaged like around 11 and a half inches when it was like 93 or higher through 21 pitches that were 93 or higher. But anything below, it was like 13, 14 for vertical movement. So those fastballs just staying a little bit. What
would be
not having that rising effect?
MLB average of that? Do you know?
Well, that was one thing that I think Pedro Chris Johnson said that was, you got to know what the average rise is, and I think it was like 11. So some pitches were like at 8 when he was getting up to 9.5, and that just helps his fastball changeup. So again, like velocity will help his ability to add backspin and kind of have that Christian Javier effect where it's having that rise effect and guys are swinging under it. And then we saw how effective his changeup was today. I don't know how I got into Lucas Giolito's changeup. Anyways, any final thoughts?
Because the changeup struck out Kyle Tucker. That's why.
That's true.
And that's probably why he went with Joe Kelly or somebody in the 7th inning to see if he can throw that changeup again that he threw to Jolks to get him out. But, whatever. Actually, it was Ruiz who threw that changeup to him and didn't go low enough.
Real quick, he flashed 5 changeups to Jose Abreu. I thought that was interesting, too.
Giolito.
Yeah, it was. He threw 6 fastballs, 6 sliders, 5 changeups. So Jose Abreu saw the whole gamut.
He struck out Jose Abreu 3 times today. Only the 7th time in Abreu's career that one pitcher has struck him out 3 times in the same game.
Great stat.
One of them, that's Sarah Langs, the awesome Sarah Langs over at MLB who came up with that one, so I'll credit her for that. But one of the other ones, Mike Clevenger, who's currently going to be pitching tomorrow for the White Sox.
Let's go to Jaxo Super Chat, and then we'll get into the final game of this 4-game series. $10 Super Chat from our guy Jaxo. The fact that this game and last night's game were close means that this team can hang in there with the champs. 3-game sample. I will
entertaining.
Entertaining.
Yeah, I'll say this.
Absolutely.
I was about to say I don't think White Sox fans could ask for anything more. They could ask for 2 more wins. But the point being that if you're watching this from an entertainment standpoint, 3 very fun games to watch here in the opening weekend from the White Sox and the Astros.
I don't know what White Sox fans were envisioning when they were coming into the series, but this is pretty much what I envisioned record-wise, 1-2 going into the 4th game because the Houston Astros are really good. Now, can Mike Clevenger come up with a good performance to firstly stymie the Astros and then also give the bullpen a rest because they have another game on Monday. So, and everybody pretty much has pitched too. So, and I would want to know, like, from today, why didn't they go to Aaron Bummer? Was he off limits? Did the position didn't present itself for the right move for Aaron Bummer? Because when they took out Jimmy Lambert, I was like, okay, is there a lefty up? Or are we going to Aaron Bummer here? That's why I was kind of confused. Yeah, it was jokes. And so I was like, okay, that's weird. Is he hurt? Is he just getting quality rest? Or just wasn't on the mind today of Pedro Grifol and Ethan Katz?
Well, and then when they took out Kelly in the 7th to go to Tucker, I mean, you possibly thought, hey, maybe they'll go to Bummer there as well. So no Bummer, no Graveman as well, as he was used in the games, 2 games prior. Clevenger versus, and I think it's Hunter Brown, your Rookie of the Year pick. I want to double check now. It is Luis Garcia. So Mike Clevenger versus Luis Garcia tomorrow. What do we expect? No pregame. Game starts at 1:10, but we will with you for a postgame around 4:10 or so, whenever it wraps up.
Hopefully
3:45.
3:45.
3:30. Let's count it 3:30. Let's manifest that. I don't expect Mike Clevenger to pitch well versus the Astros. Not necessarily because Mike Clevenger is not good, but because he wasn't good. He was really mid last year. But the Astros are just so damn good. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he goes out there and throws up some zeros and has the success he's had versus Jose Abreu in the past. But I'm not looking for Mike Clevenger to throw up the good starts like the White Sox have had the first 3 games.
I think what we can expect is to learn something about Mike Clevenger. The conversation, obviously, around him throughout spring training did not focus on baseball, which kind of obscured the fact that we don't really know what to expect from a baseball standpoint from Mike Clevenger. We're going to get a taste of that tomorrow, and I think, we talk about the potential of this rotation. Certainly Cease and Lynn at the top. What if Lucas bounces back? What if Kopech lives up to the hype a little bit more? But Mike Clevenger, everybody just looks at him and goes, I don't know what we're going to get. So, given the full comeback from the injury, which he was talking about in spring training, given the, ability to work with Ethan Katz this spring and during the offseason as well, we're going to see if Mike Clevenger looks more like the guy that White Sox fans remember seeing when he was in Cleveland, or if, Herb, you were watching the last couple of years in San Diego. So it'll be interesting to just learn something about what Mike Clevenger might look like from a pitching standpoint throughout this 2023 season.
66 total batters faced in spring training. He had an ERA of 6.89, a whip of 134, 14 strikeouts, 4 walks, 5 homers allowed, and he also had 5 stolen bases. And
Am I going
to say what?
Practice?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about practice,
Well,
Sean.
Yeah. And then
I was blanking. I thought we were done with that at this point.
5
People are still citing spring training stats.
Well,
the season has started.
Not for Mike Clevenger.
My practice.
But 5 stolen bases and no caught stealing. So I will also, that's going to be interesting too, just because he's got a weird windup. What will the pitch clock do to him? We did see Lucas get a pitch violation today. I forget who it was against, but
is that what all this was?
What?
When the ump was doing this?
I think that's reset time. There was a couple times he reset the timer.
Okay,
So
because
I don't know if
I
it's
was
reset
sitting
timer.
over here talking to Mario, and the sound was not on the Sox game over here on the other side of the office, and I just looked up, and the ump came out to yell something
I
at
think that was
Lucas,
that.
and the ump just kept doing this, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. Is he playing an accordion? What's going on?
I actually don't think he got a actual violation. I think he was ready to pitch, and he was about to pitch, and the batter wasn't ready. He didn't acknowledge him, and I was listening on the radio to Darren and Lynn. They said he didn't acknowledge him, look him eye to eye, and that was what the ump was saying. Hey, wait until he's ready before you pitch the ball.
That's weird because I was pretty sure it was 0-1, and then he ended up going 1-1 without even throwing a pitch. I thought it was the Tucker one that he gave up a single in the first, but they list that as him throwing a slider. So if anyone does know, please correct us.
There was
in the
one
chat.
pitch timer violation by Giolito.
Where
In the
was-
box score?
Is that an MLB?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Does
doesn't
say when?
It does not. It's just in the bottom of the box score underneath the pitching lines.
Okay. So he did have one. It doesn't say on the pitch by pitch at bat thing. Whatever. It's weird.
Whatever.
It's
We'll
new.
get used to this
We'll
at
figure
some
it.
point, I'm sure.
Yeah, pitch timer violation, Giolito. But that was first for the Sox, or at least first for the starting pitcher.
I believe so.
I don't think Lucas or Dylan or Lance had one, so we'll see. And we'll see if Clevenger has any tomorrow. We expect Andrew Vaughn, Yasmani Grandal in the lineup. Any other changes? Garcia is a righty, so.
We have not yet seen Hanser Alberto. At
Does
all?
Elvis get the day off?
Perhaps. We haven't seen him yet at all. And then Sheets got to start yesterday, obviously, so you expect him to be there again. But Romy Gonzalez, who started on opening night, nowhere to be found the last two games, except I believe he did pinch run in the ninth inning tonight, but didn't really have a chance to go anywhere.
No. So we'll see if maybe he gets to start against Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia, I think, started Game 3 of the 2021 ALDS game. So no Liuri, but that was Yimi Garcia anyways that he had the homer off of. Sox didn't lose 21-5, which was good in a Lucas Giolito start versus the Astros. So shout out to that. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox postgame show. We don't have a day off until April 7th. It is a great time in the season. Make sure you are hitting the thumbs up button. Make sure you are subscribing. Vinny's going to the Blackhawks game tonight, and then you later on can watch the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show with Jay, Greg, and Mario. Mario's going over to the United Center right now, so make sure you are subscribing. We are trying to build out CHGO. We are in a crucial month here in April. NFL drafts coming up, so some great coverage on the CHGO Bears site, and obviously opening day for both Sox and Cubs. We'll be back with you tomorrow for a series recap and a recap of Game 4 between the Astros and the White Sox, and we'll be with you for the home opener on the 3rd as well. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. I'm Sean Anderson, also Herb Lawrence, and you can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show. We will talk to you tomorrow. Go Sox.